just sat down and I've just saw myself on the screen and I'm in the wrong shirt.
Look good.
Hey guys, Tom here from Touchscreen. Welcome to another Around the World series. This time we are catching up with Germany. So Germany touch football. How you going, guys?
Hi Tom, how are you? Very good, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
No, not a problem. Thanks.
Yeah, good,
thanks for coming. Thanks for coming online. Do you guys want to introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself and what you do with touch footy over in Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go ahead and start. My name is Henrik. I'm the president of the Touch Deutschland NTA, Touch Germany NTA. And yeah, as we just talked about before, a big touch head, although not around the game for that long of a time. I started playing 2019, coming off a big injury, playing rugby for 18, 19 years before that, which I think is a story that a lot of the people that joined Touch for us kind of have. And yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I got to play men's open international touch at the past 2 European championships. And I'm looking forward to the upcoming World Cup to see how good our two teams will be doing next year.
And what team are you playing in for the World Cup?
So I am not going to be playing in any. So I decided for this year to kind of step back a little bit and focus on it from my president's perspective and trying to support the teams as best as I can. Leading up to that tournament, and we're going to be sending a senior mixed, which Vaughan can talk more about. He's on the coaching staff and also playing on that team. Then we are sending a mixed open again, and yeah, we're definitely looking forward not to just battle it out again with the European teams, but really taking a crack at the international Southern Hemisphere specifically competition.
So where I'm from, we call your role the tournament director, or no, tournament administrator, or something like that. Yeah. There's actually an official role, and when we have tournaments back at home, each club has to provide someone that's the contact. So it's quite common, and it's a pretty prestigious role. So it's very important. Can't have teams without one.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
Cool. Yeah. I'm Vaughan. Originally from New Zealand, Wellington, and yeah, been playing touch or rugby first of all since I was about 4. And then just playing touch in the summer. It was pretty classic, but very unstructured, very casual, just school side, turn up and have a run. Moved to Berlin in Germany in 2019 with my wife, and now living there with her and our young daughter. So new stage of life, and you might hear her in the background. So apologies.
That's okay. Totally fine. I've got a daughter too, and she's actually on my. When I do videos, then I have to wake up really early. She ends up coming and sitting on my lap. She's really tired, so don't worry about that. That's totally fine.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those, so it's adds to the flavour. And then just randomly found touch in Berlin. I wasn't really playing at the point in time, leaving New Zealand, and then just thought it was a nice day. And searched up Touch Berlin, and there was a club, and it appeared to be quite a big club actually, and just started playing again in Germany actually, and there's a lot of club tournaments in Germany, so that's really how I got back involved with Touch, and then eventually getting involved in the Touch Deutschland or Touch Germany community, and that sort of culminated in the Euros last year. I think I've talked to a few other teams about the European Championships. So that was my first taste of international footy, or European footy at least. And so now I'm I led that team last year as sort of player coach, the mixed 30s that is, and then again taking a similar role this year, albeit with a lot more support. So that's me.
Yeah, nice. So you said you played a bit of social touch when you lived over in New Zealand?
Yeah, it's basically summer you just have school touch. So after school from 5 to 18 basically. and there's not a whole lot of coaching going on. It's just sort of players turn up. There's someone who probably a rugby dad or something who knows something about that ball-shaped sport, and just throws you out there, but nothing organised. So would basically just do sort of scoops, quickies, and then see what happens after that. So.
And what did you find? Did you find when you started playing in Berlin, is very different to New Zealand, or was there a lot of similarities?
Definitely a lot of differences. I would say it was a lot more structured in Europe in general. I think so. I think the sort of underlying skills are a lot different. The skill sets, because you've got a country it's their national sport versus a country like Germany, where football or other sports are their main sport. So when they see this sort of shape of ball, they get a bit confused and weirded out. So definitely there's a lot more structures to maybe compensate for that difference in skill set, I would say. Whereas in New Zealand, it's a lot more unstructured and a bit more off the cuff, I would say.
Did you play one touch in New Zealand?
One touch. More of it as like a warm-up game. But yeah.
I've heard that's pretty popular over in New Zealand, and I always say that in New Zealand's one of the styles that's very, very good to watch because of that sort of unstructured and off-the-cuff stuff. And we've been trying to bring that sort of one-touch training and two-touch over to Australia, because we're just so drilled with our, like, it's almost military style with the way that we play, and it might win you games, but it's not as good to watch. But yeah, that's interesting. So senior mixed, your captain coaching, you played at the senior mixed for the Euros as well, or were you opens or?
No, so last year we had, Henrik can talk about this more, but we had 3 teams at the Euro. So we had a women's open, men's open, and then the senior mixed. So this is actually the first time that we ever sent a senior mixed. But yeah, I was that sort of role of captain, coach or assistant coach. One of our.
How did the teams go? How did Germany sort of finish at the Euros?
Yeah, so from our team, we did really well. We're really happy with our results. We finished up 3rd, so we first ever medal for us as a nation. So that was a huge achievement.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for the community. We lost to France in the semi-final, so that was pretty tough. But over the neighbours there, but we managed to get up over Scotland in the 3rd and 4th game. So yeah, that was a big milestone.
Awesome. And do you have sort of like a rival nation that you would consider your biggest rival, or is it sort of a few different ones?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe Henrik knows about this from the past, but I guess we've got a bit of a unique one with France in the mixed city category in particular, because their captain is actually a member of or a leading member of Touch Berlin, so Christoph. So it's a bit of a unique thing. So we train with him every week, and then we turn up to Euros and we're playing against him. So it's a bit of a unique one for that specific grade. But Henrik, I don't know if there's a overall.
Well, I wouldn't say there's a big historic rivalry going on. Certainly, we are closer, I would say, to the nations that are right around us. We do tend to play the Belgians, the Dutch, the French a lot more often than the UK nations. I mean, the nice thing about Touch in Europe, Touch in Germany for sure, Touch in Europe too, it's a tight-knit small community. So if you go across these events, you do tend to see the same people and have very positive yet competitive relationships with them and meeting them yet again. I think for me personally, we had a great rivalry going on with the men's open team, with the Welsh team over the past two Euros. And we walked off last year actually beating them for the first time, which was great for us. I mean, it's all positive. But yes, there's those nations that we play a lot in leading up to the tournaments. There is a good relationship, as Vaughan was saying, with the French, because we have a lot of French players in our community. One of our coaches in that's supporting senior mixed, he's also French. So there's a lot of relationships that we have. So we tap into these relationships leading up to those big tournaments. To put together training weekends and just have a bunch of games at the highest level that we can put together. And that's been really helping us develop our game over the past couple of years.
Awesome. And you mentioned about the victory you had over the Wales Men's Open. And it's funny, on Friday I actually spoke with the captain for Wales Men's Open, and he neglected to mention the loss that he had to Germany. No, it's just funny. And who did I speak to? On Monday, I saw, earlier this week, or it might have been Sunday, I spoke with Luxembourg. And nice. They actually talked to me about actually how much assistance each nation gives each other with these trial games. Everyone sort of benefits from them, which is something that I get a little bit jealous over. Like, being in Australia, we really don't have that. We've got a lot of, obviously our rival is New Zealand, but it's because it's the only country close by, and it's still a 3-hour flight if you live in Sydney or Brisbane to get to New Zealand. So it's actually not that close at all. Whereas I believe, like, when you're preparing for the World Cup, if you've got all these other nations that you're constantly having sort of exhibition games with, it'd make the lead up just so enjoyable. It'd be just like a whole. It's almost like to me, it seems like a mini World Cup for the months leading up. And I'm very jealous about that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, the one thing that we need to keep in mind in this is it is nice to play at this level and battle it out against the teams that you'll be playing later, but also it's almost a requirement for us in order to get exposed to this high level of touch that we need before walking onto a tournament like this. With the exception of France, I would say mainland Europe, the touch communities per country are relatively small, and you have a huge skill gap from those just coming into the game versus the elite group, right? And if you just play against the same people every weekend, growth will be much slower than having things thrown against you that are much different to what you've seen. And I think this is also one of the reasons why we really look forward to the World Cup, because yes, teams play different in Europe, but we do look forward to trying to see how far touch has come in terms of new patterns, new ways to defend and attack, new plays that are, I would say, on vogue down under that take a little bit of time for us to arrive here. So it will be really exciting to test our systems against those other nations.
It will be interesting to see, actually, like you said, about how much the game has changed. I'm starting to notice a few. It's not going to be big, massive changes, but there is some. Like, if you look deep enough into the game these days, there is some pretty. I guess they're subtle, but they make a big impact sort of changes. Like, it might be just moving a meter to a different spot, but it actually there's a big benefit to it. So that's a good point. I'm actually interested to see that myself, to be honest. So we've got the I believe the pools, not the pools, the draw. Did that come out today?
I think they sent it and then they pulled it back. So I've been eyeing my email account for that email to come back. So
right, because I've been like just this second. That's why I looked this way. I just got sent a draw for the team that I'm with, but okay, I don't think I'll pay that much attention. Anyway, we're going back. I've got your pools.
I'll take that, Tom, if you've got it.
I can send it. Yeah, once it's done, I'll send it to you. It might only be it might only be mixed open, but I can send it to you after this conversation. But I've got the pools that's set in stone for senior mixed. So Vaughan, are you excited to play any team in particular? Unfortunately, you're not in the same pool as New Zealand. I'm sure you would have liked to play against your fellow Kiwis.
Yeah, for sure. That would be awesome. I don't know any specific people in the squad, to be honest, but I'm not sure if I've seen the actual team list. But I think obviously we've got Australia now, so that's the champions. Always looking forward to that. But I've got some sort of connections to other teams. So Samuelu, my first cousin's actually playing in a team, so that's quite a cool.
That is cool.
Detail. So. Yeah, so my dad's brother, his son is playing in the team, so that's a pretty unique one.
Well, make sure you get a photo. Make sure you get a photo after the game, because it's definitely something that it's pretty uncommon, like in a World Cup, especially when it's not like Samoa versus Tonga or anything like that, or something nearby. It's Samoa versus Germany, and you've got a pretty close relationship. That's really cool.
Yeah, really. Never thought I'd be playing touch in for Germany, but here we are.
That's right.
And then I think all the other teams, right, who are non-European nations, just the ones we haven't played before, so Hong Kong, USA, and Cayman Islands, for sure. And then there's a whole lot of other countries in the other pool when we get to crossover stage, whatever. Hoping that's quarterfinals, but whatever it is, looking forward to those as well.
Vaughan will be very excited. I just checked the draw actually, and our opening game with the senior mixed is against Hong Kong actually. So
Hong Kong senior mixed, I'll get a look at next weekend. So if you want some tips,
cool.
Yes, for sure. Send us the
Are you playing against them, Tom? Or
no? I'm actually coaching China, the mixed open Chinese team, and we're doing a round robin. So I'll be in China next weekend, and we're doing a round robin with Hong Kong and Chinese Taipei. I think that's all. Maybe someone else that I'm not aware of, but yeah, I know Hong Kong's. The men's and women's, I think, are combining to be a mixed team, and their senior mixed will be there as well. So we're going to have a run against them, and we've got China's got a mixed open and a senior mix going. But
awesome.
I think that they'll be okay. I don't know. I've seen a couple of their players that they sort of know what they're doing, but they're really like you could be over 30, and if you're good enough, you're going to be playing men's open. So. Which is probably what Australia is going to be like as well. It's a bit of a weird one, the senior mixed. One of my really good friends is actually the assistant coach for that team, and there's so many players that could be available. So the men's open is actually quite an aging roster. They're still the best players in the country, but a lot of them actually are over 30 and could be playing men's 30s or senior mixed. And then you've got the men's 30s team, which take preference over senior mixed. And then you got the senior mixed on top of that. So I'm not actually sure how many mixed players are going to be in this senior mixed side. It's going to be an interesting one. So, there's one Australian team, there's one Australian division. I have no idea. They could go out and be really good. They could go out and it might take them 3 or 4 games to gel with each other. I'm not sure. So can't give you too much tips on Australia for senior mixed. So the other thing I want to talk about is you talk about Germany, that the numbers in Germany not being as strong as some bigger nations. What does the sort of the touch football or the touch rugby look like if I was to move to Berlin? Are you both from Berlin?
So I am originally from Berlin, but I live in a town called Frankfurt, where we also have a fairly competitive good touch team. So I've been with them since I started in 2019. Yeah, but I can certainly speak a little bit about the structure of touch in our country. And as I said, I'm just looking back at some numbers that we collected for a little census that we did in 2022, and back then or built from then. Right now we have 11 organized clubs, basically in all the big major cities, with some smaller ones here and there. And then the size of the clubs kind of depend, on the size of the city. So Berlin, where Vaughan's playing, and historically speaking, also one of our most successful clubs that also represents us very well in the European Club Championship competitions year on year, is by far the biggest club. In total, I would say we have, give or take, around 300 people playing organized touch, right? Which is definitely not a lot. But we do get surprised here and there when we see, kind of grassroots groups just meeting in parks around people that aren't really organized. And I would say if you include those groups plus some schools that have actually started playing touch as one of their sports, I would say maybe around 500 at best. Yeah, I would say that's about the community that we have, and what Vaughan has just been speaking about, us being able to win a bronze medal in a European competition when you have nations that have obviously much bigger communities really means a lot to us, and I think it's just testament to having a close community that is all very very into touch, loves the game, devotes a lot of time that we have to the game, and really travels all across the country, because Germany, I mean, not compared to Australia, but it is fairly big. For us, it's very tough to go and meet with the elite group in a city. There's always travel involved. There's always people having to move and say no to other things that they have going on. So yeah, it's a very tight knit community that's been really growing together. That certainly has struggled a lot with COVID, when we had a couple of years where people that had came into the community but hadn't really seen the social side of it, which is super important for us. Would then kind of disappeared. So we're now coming out of time that we are rebuilding, but we see most clubs doing quite well with their numbers. So we are quite happy with it. Another thing that you talked about too, and I was smiling, is kind of we have an aging community. For you, it's kind of the elite guys that have played together for a long time. For us, we are a rather old community on average. I think back then when we did the census, I think a touch player in Germany was around 36 in terms of age, which is obviously quite old, but then also makes sense for us to try to compete really in the senior segment, the master segment, which is just more natural to us. And I think the one thing that we are kind of working on is the next growth stage is really getting younger players involved, making sure that we have a solid foundation. We've been looking over at our friends from Belgium who've have been doing a great job over the last couple of years to really build a youth touch a team on the national scale, but then also bring development programs for those younger players in. I think that's something that they will certainly be benefiting a lot from over the last years. And if you were now to move to Germany, then you should definitely move to a big city, because that will increase the chance of actually having a touch club there. Depending on the size of the club, I think it differs a little bit how training and everything works, and that's also one of the biggest differences, right? So what I keep hearing from New Zealand or Australia, there is not real formalized touch training, right? Because people just show up in the park, you put together teams, or you have your different leagues, and then you just go battle, right? So the way that people learn touch is much more natural. Whereas over here, we will see ourselves being, 7, 8, 9 people at training, sometimes, and you can't really put together a full game with that. So you are forced to train more towards drills, but that's good. It gives the game a very structured feel, but it also means we need to expose ourselves to higher level touch whenever we get the chance, in order to build the decision-making skills that come more natural to players that have just stepped onto the pitch when they were young and just did it, and that's a little bit what we're seeing. Overall I think it's definitely a sport that's growing. The most recent news that we've had, which hopefully will help us a lot in the development, is that we are actually going to join forces with the German Rugby Union Federation, which is considerably bigger in the country, especially since they were doing well on the 7th circuit, eyeing Olympics, etc. So there's been investment obviously coming in to support the Olympic side of things, and us and them both see great potential in having this be the next growth lever for us. Because right now we are very reliant on someone moving to a new city, or someone else coming in, an expat that has been around touch, and then really starting up by themselves. Now we have access to a network of hundreds of clubs in the country that are looking for ways to bring people into contact rugby as well, without having to do it right away. And I think touch can both bridge that gap, but also provide a good alternative, during the summer break when no union is being played, to keep those skills. And I've seen it myself. I've been a union player for a long time. I was never as fit as my first season on the international touch circuit, simply because athletically the game has much different requirements than being a forward in union. So overall, I think we're looking into a bright future, but it certainly does require everyone's efforts and blood, sweat, and tears, and everybody that is involved usually works jobs on the side. It's something that we all love doing, we are slow and steadily growing the sport, and having good results at tournaments like the European Championships, and then hopefully also at the World Cup, is something that will help us very well. And another thing that Vaughan didn't say actually was that he played at the New Zealand Nationals for Wellington lately. So I'll let him compare a little bit the game of touch, how we are playing here, to what he's seen over there, which I think is a cool perspective to get as well.
Yeah, wow. And you talk about like a foundation with the juniors coming through. It's something that's going to take a lot of patience. I always refer to the club that I'm at, where 10 years ago, when I was playing men's open, our club wasn't really a strong club, especially in juniors. A lot of our teams would go to a tournament, which is a state tournament, and not win a game, or they might win one game against a tiny little affiliate. So what we did was we looked at the youngest age group, which was under 10s for a representative, and we put all our resources into that. And that team became quite successful. And because that team was successful, the word got out to the kids' friends at school. They all then wanted to play. And all of a sudden now we're in this nice cycle where those boys that started in under 10s, last year they just won the under 20s title at the state championships. So that's actually quite a big deal, especially because we're classed as a regional affiliate. We're not in Sydney. We're about a 2.5 hour drive out of Sydney. So I think, it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, but it's definitely, you definitely reap the benefits in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what? Vaughan, touch. You went and played for Wellington. How was that experience, and how does it compare to what you're playing at in Germany?
Yeah, so I was back in New Zealand for a couple of months on German parental leave. So one of the perks of living in Germany for a couple of months. So and then had a friend who was playing in the men's open team, and he said, "Oh, we're training, so come on down." And they just happened to be playing the mixed open. They got a few injuries, and I said, "Oh, hey, I'm here and got my boots. I can jump on if needed." And one thing led to another, and then got a call the day before, basically, and said, "Do you want to jump in?" So really random, about fortunate opportunity. And next I was playing nationals for the first time. So it was with the mixed open. Speed. Speed was like the word, I guess, to describe the weekend. I think New Zealand plays, or at least the touch I experienced, individual players have a lot of speed, and they're very dynamic and hard to defend purely. Really need to be sharp on your corner shots, defensive policies. But I think they also, like through the orange zone there, they can be a bit slower in terms of how they get off, but what they do, or get off and come on, but what they compensate it with is a lot of skill and sort of anticipation, check passes, nice switches, and creating a lot of flow with the ball rather than always using their speed. Whereas I would say in Germany and in Europe in general, it's a lot more sort of a little bit more Australian style, where it's like just go, pace and speed, and quite direct. So that was quite an adjustment to, a different sort of speed. Individual players, the change of pace is incredible, and the ability to beat people one-on-one. Definitely witnessed some of that firsthand. So, and then I think the second thing would just be the general skill level is just so much higher. And I think in particular the females really impressed me. Catch pass skills, skip passes, long balls, and then the wingers, all sizes, all heights. Really their finesse finishing, I would say. So, diving away, falling out of the field, sort of these NRL style ones, maybe not jumping as high or as far out of the field, but still, have those tricks up their sleeves. So that's the skill set. And then, as I said, the guys just all being able to step, but also long balls. You typically play in Germany, it'll be maybe one, maybe two guys who can throw a good 4 and 3 long ball. So like corner shots is generally working pretty well. But New Zealand, you've got every single line at least 2 guys in there can throw them and throw them pretty good. So and both ways.
There'll be I was going to say there'll be one guy that can throw this way and one guy that can throw this way, and all they want you to do is shut down. And then it's like, sweet, I'll just throw the bridge pass over the top.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would say like the last one, which was again a bit of a shock to the system, was the physicality. So generally more athletic people playing, again, just the player pool was huge, right? Compared to what Henrik was just explaining. and the rules, or the way that they interpret the rules, the refs just allow a lot more physicality within the game. So I'm not the smallest guy, but I was getting pushed off rucks and quite a bit. So and just ref says, all right, ball down, turnover, and so it took me a couple of games to get used to that. And I think definitely looking to the World Cup, it will be interesting to see how that's officiated and how much physicality they allow within the guidance of minimum force, I guess.
And I think that'll just depend on what nation the referees are from. And I totally understand what you're saying there, because in Australia, I'm guessing that sort of interpretation is very similar to New Zealand, because we have New Zealand referees come over here a lot. We have Australian referees go to New Zealand a lot. So there's probably a lot of similarities there. And our culture with our physicality is, if you get pushed and it wrecks the play of the ball in any way, you need to get stronger. Even if that is a hard touch, no, get stronger, get that play of the ball done. We don't want a penalty. We want to keep moving. And that's our culture, is let them push us. We're just going to be strong enough to not let that affect us. Whereas when I went to China, I'm talking about how to be strong and stuff like that. Next thing you know, we're getting penalised by Chinese referees because their interpretation is basically anything if a two-handed touch is too hard. So it'll be like, me personally, I'll be asking my captain to go and ask where the referees are from, and if they're from probably an Asian nation or anything like that, we'll say, all right, let's be light on our touches. But if they say they're from New Zealand or Samoa or even probably England to a degree, all right, let's get a bit tougher. So just probably one to think about.
Yeah, I think it's very fair. I think not French or German referees, it's still different to UK referees, absolutely. So I definitely had that a few times. Just coming off, and the coach is like, get lower, get stronger. So,
bend your back.
Yeah,
it's like we just say it's like packing a scrum. Like when you're dumping the ball, you're pretty much doing the same motion as a rugby union player, probably not as low, but like packing a scrum, you need to have power in your legs, and they shouldn't be able to push you over if you're bending your back and you've got all that momentum. Circling back to the social side. So your social, if that's what you call it, still play in tournaments and you train?
Yeah, so when I was talking about the social side, I think I what I meant more, but I can still answer the question, is the aspect of, I think what we see a lot in a lot of the teams, and Vaughan, you can comment on it from a Berlin perspective, is we have a I would say 50-50, maybe not as much anymore, but touch is a sport that was brought to the country by expats coming in, and still it's a lot of the people that we see that come in that have already been exposed to the game are usually not German, so they move to a new city and then look for a touch team, which then becomes kind of their community, right? So for us, the social aspect of doing things together outside of the touch field and building a community is hugely important for player retention and just getting more people into the game, because it is not known very much, because the thing about Germany and many other European nations, but for us for sure, is we are monosport culture, right? So you have football and then a whole lot of nothing, and then some other things, and even rugby is not as well known. So then, and you haven't even talked about touch at all, right? So I think we are very important for us. That social community aspect is elemental to keeping that community together and growing. And when you talk more about the social side of the game, I think what we're trying to do in the clubs is to essentially offer both, because we have a lot of players that come in, then kind of grow out of the very competitive side, and they just want to show up, and have a crack at the game. So usually what the teams will do is we'll have regional kind of social competitions by each team, where on Sundays usually people just come together on the pitch that we have, make a couple teams, and just go and play. Yeah, so that's like, something that is
pick up touch in a way.
Pretty much. Yeah. So depending on the numbers of you rarely get 14 on 14. So you'll just make teams of 6 and then just kind of free flow, sub in and out. And don't you play obviously FIT rules, but you don't worry that much about subbing. You take breaks whenever you have to. So it's kind of that side. And then the clubs that have bigger numbers, that will usually split their week into having kind of a more beginner-friendly training, but then also having a more competitive training where they run through kind of more advanced patterns and get their competitive tournament squad ready for the upcoming competitions that then happen, around once a month for us in the summer. So that's what we're trying to do. But I do agree that is another thing that's very important for us that we need to be doing more of, is just putting together social, fun-looking games where people can actually go and see them, because we've collected a lot of members who literally have seen us play in parks. Like, that looks cool. This is fun. It's mixed. There's not a lot of games that you play at a competitive level where men and women are playing together. So that's also something that attracts people from an interest point of view. It's something that is also very important for us to get more people in.
And it is. It's such a benefit touch football has about how, I could go and play with my wife. I could play in a few years. I could play with my daughters. It's just like the mixed side of it is just it's so good. Like, not a lot of sports have that. And it's I can't believe that until I started doing this series, Talking to Nations, I'd heard of the term pick up as far as sport, but I'd never even thought about anyone doing pick up touch at all. And it's apparently it's a very, very popular thing. And I talk to my friends at home about it, and no one ever has ever heard of it. So we're just like in our own little bubble, just completely unaware of actually how touch football runs anywhere. And because it's completely different. It's fairly different. Where I'm from, you can go to whatever touch football clubs in your town. You can go to whatever one you want, but let's say I've gone to the touch football club in my town, and I will get a team. They'll advertise, team nominations. I will go and form a team with my friends. So right now we're playing, it's our winter at the moment, and we're playing Monday nights. It's a 10-week competition, and I'm in a team just called the Boring Spuds, like potato spuds. And it's just a group of guys that I'm friends with that we used to play together in juniors, that we just all got back together, and we go and play against like a team that might be full of 16-year-olds with their dads and things like that. We might get 10 teams play each other once or something like that. And that's our social thing. It's all teams created by themselves. If we get enough teams, we put them into grades. But from those teams, anyone playing at that club, we have trials for our representative teams. And they're the ones that go to tournaments. So social players actually play no tournaments. It's just a weekly game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the dream, obviously, and it's what we're seeing in other nations kind of develop. But for us, it's quite decentralized. So you don't have, we don't have London where there's just a big amount of people and touch players in a certain region where this would be feasible. For us, there's a big community in Berlin, but then you have the other. It's a handful of people here and there. So you are kind of reliant. That's what I meant initially. We have to come together. We have to travel in order to play a good functioning game. But yes, that's definitely the next step. And personally, I would love it to just, play with different people, put together a squad, and then just go and have fun with it. And yeah, that's definitely what we are thriving for. But so far, we need more numbers, and we need to structurally.
By any chance, is any of your World Cup players school teachers?
Yeah, we have a couple. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, Germany can snag a live stream game that might be played to the kids at school that could probably get the name of touch football out to in the school community, because where I'm from, we actually have employ people casually. Normally, it's uni students, and they'll go into schools and teach touch football and actually get paid by the Touch Football Association in New South Wales, and I'm sure Queensland do the same thing. So, uni students might have a day or two off uni, and they might spend those, instead of working a casual job at a fast food shop, they'll just go and coach touch football in schools. And because in Australia, like, touch football is a recognised sport. I know I was talking to Sweden or someone, and they said that touch football is not a recognised sport, so it makes it very difficult to do that. But yeah, it'd be nice to get some exposure for Germany, whatever team it might be. on the live stream. I'm hoping it's not just going to be Australia, New Zealand every time. We need, probably for the good of the international side of things, is as many nations as possible featuring on that live stream, because I'm sure come the finals, it's Australia and New Zealand are going to get their turn.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Historically,
go ahead, Vaughan.
No, just in terms of live streams, hearing your conversations previously, but also my experience from the New Zealand tournaments and Australian ones, watching them, there's very few fields actually live streamed, whereas in our Euros last year, I think it was 3 and maybe 4 fields even live streamed. Not all of them, only one of them with commentary, but you still get games, full games, videoed and available on YouTube. And then also in Nottingham the year before, and I assume it'll be the same, if not better this year, there'll be plenty of live stream games, not necessarily with commentary, but that's a really good thing about Touch in Europe at the moment, is there's a good supply of live streams.
Yeah, absolutely. And like what's becoming very popular in Australia now is what's called the VO cameras. And we might have a tournament, let's say, one of our big tournaments has got probably 25 fields running at the same time. And I reckon 15 of those at every game, one of the teams would have these big, giant tripods that go a few meters above everyone's head, and it tracks the ball. I don't know if you've heard, I don't know if they're an Australian thing or they're a worldwide thing.
We have them over here.
They're super popular, and they're actually really good. A lot of them are just uploading their games to YouTube once the tournament's done. So it's not so much live stream, but it is, you can watch it back. So there's a lot more probably exposure now than even what there was before COVID, with these cameras that are just making it so easy to get good quality footage on live stream. So I'm sure every Australian team would have one of those. I can't see why they wouldn't.
We just played Belgium, was it a couple of weekends ago, and they had one. So we managed to get the film off them for that. So that's really cool. Not needing people, but just chuck up the pole and you're good to go basically. So, that's if we have the budget for it, Henrik, I think that'd be awesome.
I'll take a note. Yeah, so far we've been using drones more than the camera, which takes a little bit more manual work. But
it might be. So in Germany, rugby, is that played all year round, or do you stop in the summer? I actually don't even know what the temperature's like. Does it get really cold in winter and really hot in summer, or?
I mean, reasonably. Snow has becoming less and less over the last few years, but in general, yes. So the rugby season runs, I would say, from so it doesn't run during the summer and it doesn't run into the winter. So it stops around October, November, restarts, I think, in March, and then runs until, I would say, May, June. I think the final is actually coming up soon, so it's June. That leaves the big summer where usually most teams either kind of go into hiatus or play sevens. So sevens has always been kind of part of that rugby circuit, and there's really sevens or union players. People kind of do both at the same time. But yes, it's the sevens game has been a bit more professionalized behind its inclusion in the Olympics. So that's definitely something that we are seeing, but that's another community, and we see it happening more and more, that we have people kind of traveling over from union. I am an example myself. We have others in the community that have done that switch, and people are really are enjoying it. A, to keep fit, B, to build onto the ball handling skills, and their decision making skills. So there's a lot that transitions between both codes, and definitely one of the reasons why we've entered into the agreement with the Rugby Federation. So it's something that we are just starting. We've now put the legal requirements in place now to fully transition, which is something we'll get on after the World Cup. But we think towards the next 5 years, you will definitely see more growth, and hopefully also a bunch of rugby players that already have the skills that we don't have to build up. Or at least have some skills that are usable in the touch game, come in and then provide more growth to our community. But yes, we also do have people that come on that have never played rugby before, that are kind of pure touch players, which is great, because it took me a couple of years also to kind of let go of the things that I kind of had muscle memory from playing union. especially around how big the gap really is when you're trying to go at it and things like that. So it's something that we're definitely looking forward for, and that we'll try to benefit on that summer where no union is happening.
Yeah, and like we do the same thing in Australia with rugby league. Union, we do have rugby union, and my club is one of few clubs that probably have a big contingent of rugby union players, but it's not as big of a sport in Australia. But we that's how we work. We have all of our winter sport is like tackle. We have rugby league, rugby union, AFL, and a lot of kids play soccer. It's just not a professional sport in Australia, or football. Sorry for the purists out there. Yeah, and then once that stops, it's touch football and cricket are the two big sports that they play during the summer. So what we've done is with this camera, we're actually using it in the summer and then giving it to the rugby league club in the winter, and we sort of split the payment because unfortunately, one of those cameras you got to pay a subscription. Wow. It's not a case of buying the camera and congratulations, it's your camera. It's let's give them a bit more money each month as well. So we just go halves with our rugby club for that. But it works out good. We get a lot of use out of it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think just on that whole playing through summer versus winter, I think you're talking with the Sweden guys, but yeah, I find it crazy here. They play sort of 12 months a year, and very much that social aspect is I would say the foundation of touch in Germany, because you turn up on a Saturday lunchtime in January and it's -5 and there's maybe 10, 15, 20 players all turning out to play, but mostly to turn up for a beer afterwards. So I think, just sort of continuing on from that point earlier, I think, social is really the foundation of at least the club in Berlin here. And that's what I originally turned up for. And I had no idea or no wish of wanting to play some competitive tournaments, just, having a run around, and no idea that there was even a European Championships or never thought of a World Cup. So, or even think of a World Cup, right? I think that's way out of reach. So I think that's, a huge opportunity for us as Touch Deutschland or the broader community. And also that point in terms of mix, right? So I'm playing in the World Cup with my wife, which is a pretty unique opportunity in itself. So, and there's also a few other sort of couples or partners in previous year's team and also this year's team. So that's, pretty special. So.
Playing with your wife and against your cousin.
Yeah, very much a family affair.
It's amazing too when I was talking to the guys from Sweden, I didn't even think about how cold it is over there. We stopped playing rugby because of how hot it gets over here. It just becomes unsafe having collision sports in 38, 40 degrees Celsius days. But we have a heat and a cold weather policy. I'm not sure if you heard this in Sweden. If it drops below +8, we have the right to cancel a tournament. Like a tournament that people could have driven 6 hours, teams to play in, we can stop when it gets below +8. And here you're telling me a social game is going ahead at -5.
Yeah, we do freeze, don't we? Yeah. So I mean, I especially remember the training camps because we start the train. So we might not be playing, but certainly we have the training camps to get the national teams ready. And we do those. Yeah, I think we've had them in December, we've had them in January, and certainly it does get negative for us. So I do remember wearing multiple layers of clothing just to get through. But it's part of the game for us, and then part of the preparation that we do because we don't get as much play time at that level. So we kind of need to freeze a little bit here and there.
Yeah, okay. Can't imagine. I had someone comment on the video with Sweden saying that Canberra, which is the capital of Australia, they're like, oh, I thought it was cold in Canberra, which for an Australian it is cold in Canberra, but it's probably +2, +3, which are probably not that cold for you when you're talking in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How hot does it get?
Or in Berlin, we get up to mid-30s, sort of a heat waves, and they don't really do air conditioning over here. So that's at the point where you can actually go home and, when you used to work from the office, if you didn't have aircon in your office, you can actually say I need to go home because it's too hot. So That's the other end of the scale, Tom.
We have that. Yeah, we have that. Although pretty much every office in Australia does have air conditioning because people they introduced the law that you could go home. It was tools down at a certain office temperature, so everyone just bought air conditioners, so they didn't have to stop work.
Yeah. I mean, summers are definitely manageable, I think. I mean, certainly there's times. We've had it last year at the Euros where it's gotten very, very hot. I mean, what was that, 33, 34? I had to sit out one game before because I almost had had a heat stroke. So yeah, it's definitely something that's very intense. But I think what they did last year is they had water breaks within halftime even. So there are some sort of heat protection, but it's the Euros, so you can't really
10-minute quarters.
Yeah.
And how did you find? Did you go to the 2022 Euros where it was at Nottingham, same place as the World Cup?
Yes.
How did you find? I've heard really good things so far about how the tournament was run, how they run the tournament in England, and the playing surfaces were actually quite good. A lot of people that were telling me that are used to playing on artificial turf, though.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this year I think they have the complex that we played at in 2022, but they also have another complex. So I can't speak only for one of them. I think overall it was very professional, very well run tournament. That was quite nice. It was my first one, so I don't have that many obviously to compare it to. But I think in general, it was ran quite well. Facilities were nice. It was top of the summer, and it was kind of during a dry spell. So some of the pitches, there was one or two pitches that were had a little bit more sun than some others, but overall they were all in good and playable conditions. And overall, they did it very nice. I think Nottingham itself, depending on where you are, accommodation was really nice. So they have the big university right next to the grounds where a lot of the teams will be located. Which makes the amount of time that you need to go back and forth, and if you have a game, couple hours break, it's very easy to go back to where you need to be. And yeah, we were really lucky with the weather 2 years ago. Hopefully, it's going to be the same in 45 days from now. But yes, overall, I think it's a good spot, and I think it's part of the reason why they're now bringing it back to Nottingham. But yes, I think the World Cup will be much bigger in terms of size. So I think it will be a whole different experience yet again.
Yeah, that's good. No, it looked amazing, and the good thing with the Euros too, when I started watching them, the grand finals, everyone stuck around. There was a good atmosphere. Everyone's around the fields. It was loud. I think it was England versus Ireland or something like that in the men's open that year. Yeah, it just seemed like a really nice tournament. It seemed like there was trees everywhere. It was nice and green. Like we've played tournaments like when we play in the summer. Like there was one year, 2019, our major senior tournament was played in the middle of one of our biggest bushfire seasons ever. Wow. So we're in the middle of a drought. We had water restrictions, which meant like at the tournament they took all the taps off like there was no taps, so you couldn't fill your water up. You had to go and buy water. All the fields were like dead. There was smoke in the air, so a lot of people actually couldn't play because of their asthma. And yeah, it was a pretty awful tournament. And then we got floods, and then we got COVID, so we had a bad run in 2019 and 20.
We still have people talking about Malaysia in 2019 because that apparently was very hot too, and people would go straight from the pitch into the ice baths and then hang out there for a while. So yeah, definitely hoping that this year will be not as hot and not rainy, so we have good playing conditions for everybody.
Yeah, that's good. Well, anything else you want to chat about? Anything you got any questions about how touch works in Australia? Or I can't really answer I can probably answer for China. I've been over there a few times. I've seen touch football in China. Yeah,
I'm nothing that comes to mind. I think the other cool thing that FIT has been made possible for us, something that we're definitely looking forward is they're bringing Tony Trad to Europe. So we'll run a session with him in Berlin on the 6th of July, just 1 week before the World Cup, which will be good for us to have some final exposure and give us a little bit hints to really kind of sharpen the edge there before we go over there. So that's definitely something that we are massively looking forward to. yeah, I don't know, Vaughan, any questions from your side?
Yeah, definitely. If you can figure out a way to buy, like if you've got a camera, buy a little microphone and just stick it on Traddy, he'll be more than happy to wear it. I'm sure he's actually quite a really nice guy, and there's nothing in his mind touch footy wise that he will not share with anyone. So find out a way just because he's going to talk and he's going to spill out a lot of information. So if you can record it somehow and look back at it later, so it's not sort of going over your head, because it can be like he talks very sort of complex with the touch football. So yeah, make sure you record it and listen to it back, because you'll get a lot out of that. Traddy's really good.
Yeah,
it's a shame that he was probably regarded as our best ever Australian men's coach, at least in the modern era. We had sort of Jubilee, they're called Jubilee teams, so teams of the last 50 years. So they named a men's, women's, and a mixed open, and he was named as the coach of the men's open Jubilee team of the last 50 years. So yeah, he knows what he's doing when it comes to coaching. He's won, I think, 4 World Cups, 3 or 4, as the men's open coach. So really good.
Okay. I have one question around your view on whether the game would ever go professional. I think Australia's probably the closest to that, and it's sort of like alignment to NRL clubs on that. And I think there's been different instances of that. But yeah,
talking to Mark Tipple. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, if he's ever come over to Germany. So I was talking to Mark because he's with France, and one of the recent interviews I've done is with France, and it's like we were talking about mixed before. He said his mind is a great opportunity to start that would be the 2032 Olympics, which is in Brisbane, one of the big touch football cities in Australia. And he thinks that the ability for mixed to go professional internationally and be an Olympic sport is actually something that he would talk for, because like, let's say that you just had, you've got mixed open. That's all we're going to do for touch football at the Olympics. So that means every nation only has to supply 14 players, or if you play extras. So the competitiveness now tightens up, because like Germany, you just send your best mixed team, just one mixed team. You might have so many players that miss out, whereas Australia probably could field 10 mixed teams and be just as strong as each other. But we've got to just find one. So it'd be quite competitive. And there's not really any other, apart from maybe tennis, that has a mixed option in the Olympics. So I think there's a good opportunity to showcase mixed. And just in general, as far as competitive, it's like the Seventh Touch. Going back to Seventh Touch, you've probably seen them on social media. He interviews like Sean Johnson. He interviewed Sean Johnson and asked him, if touch football was professional, what avenue would you go down? Would you go down your rugby league, or would you go down touch? And he actually chose touch. There's so many people that probably would choose touch if it was professional. It's just, how can we market touch football to the average viewer? Because the downside of touch is because it's so, like, everyone's got a job, and it just looks so, like, it's like me watching ice hockey. Like, I don't know much about ice hockey, and all it looks like, it doesn't look structured. It just looks like they're all skating around waiting for something to happen. And I'm sure that's what touch football looks like to the average viewer. So it's just, if we can market it so it's better, like people can understand it a bit more, where they've never associated with it before. I think it can go professional, but I think mixed is definitely the starting point for professional touch.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We played against Mark in Paris a couple of weekends ago, actually.
Oh, cool.
He was playing for the local club there. So
I was supposed to, when he was in Australia, me and him were actually appointed to coach a team together, but he pulled out right before the trials because he ended up he started doing work with touch football internationally. that was what started him doing that. He's like, oh, I'm moving overseas to do touch football, and it was like, oh, okay. And it's surprising that not many other people have tried to do that, because I didn't realize how big touch football was until very recently. I think we've got 59 nations participating in the World Cup. So
yeah, I think certainly like
awesome.
coming from New Zealand, Australia, I don't think you appreciate how much of an impact it has across the world and like how powerful the sport is. I think people really just sort of see it as like a rugby or NRL alternative and something that you do in the park with your mates. But yeah, it's like a really big source of social community and friendship groups, and a lot of people use that as their, you know, moving as expats. And I think the majority of people you've spoken to are expats. You know, that's where they find, you know, some commonality between the new city or new country that they've moved to. Otherwise, it's pretty tough integrating yourself. So it's pretty special in that sense. And again, as you say, mix. So it's super interesting in terms of the Olympics avenue as well. That would be amazing to see.
Surely, if they can put BMX racing and skateboarding and I think surfing. I think they trialed surfing, and I was like, how does surfing get as an Olympic sport? What if there's no beach? What if
I think it's also breakdancing is now
breakdancing
for the Paris Olympics. Yeah.
I'd say we have a shot.
I've never been. I get a bit iffy when it comes to sports where the winners are decided on judges, like diving. Like I think it's an amazing skill. Like I like watching diving, but it's just like, what was different to that dive and that just the judges doing it? So yeah, break dancing would be just like that. Just judges deciding the winner. I've just never been a big fan of that working, but that's just me.
Yeah. I had another question actually. Is there from you as from a coaching perspective, kind of maybe having seen not necessarily ours, but just the game from past European championships, would there be anything that you would say, hey, you know, one or two aspects of the game that you guys should be looking at, or anything that we see more and more teams doing here, which I haven't seen there, which you should get prepared for? So any final tips here for Vaughan and me to carry to the coaches team?
Yeah. So with the Euros, and I speak this from a fan's perspective, saying that they're much more better to watch, because a Euro game might end 10 points to 7, whereas a game from where I'm from might end 3-1. So the highlights package is much greater for a Euros champs, because it's all sharp attack, and there's not a lot of this. Whereas that desperation defence that you see in Australia and New Zealand is probably not there as much in Europe. Europe's very pull corner, no questions asked, you pull corner and the other side shuts, which in Australia now that is our fundamental message, that we never want to get beat short side, but we're actually competing a lot more, especially when you're subbing on or you're dumping the ball on the 5th, when you're rucking on and you're not actually quite at the 7 yet. If you've got a dummy half that's going to take off, we're just going to run you down. Anything like that. So anytime you see a dummy half take off, even when the dump's on the 7, we're going to try and compete. That person making the touch is doing a lot of work to try and not just pull a corner and my job's done, see you later, I'm doing this. They're going to make a touch and keep their body shape the same way. So I've made a touch over there, but they're going to move with that player as much as possible just to relieve pressure off everyone else. So you will notice that a lot. And me coaching over in Australia, it's getting very annoying when you're trying to run a play, subbing on the field, but they're just manning on. It's like, oh, okay. So we've started to actually play really old school, like with a double switch. We used a double switch at a recent tournament, and it actually worked pretty much every time. The only time it didn't work is when we didn't give the second pass. But because they're manning on and they're trying to over chase everything, we just change the angles. So, which is probably a good thing. I think a little bit of old-fashioned style coming back into touch would be really, really good. Like you watch watch an old game of touch on YouTube, there's something from the 90s when it just became six-a-side. I've analysed one of them is the Peter Walters flick pass. But they've got the whole game. You can look at the whole game on YouTube, but they didn't have the rule where you had to move forward off the line back then. So everything was manning on, which is now kind of what is starting to happen again, because you can shadow with the new rules. I'm not sure if you play them as well, but we can actually follow the ball without obstructing. We're doing a lot more man on defense. So the game has actually kind of gone back to where it was before that rule was in place, where you had to move forward. So a lot of lateral movement, making the defense move side to side. And I think that's where New Zealand is going to be very good at this World Cup. If that's the way teams are going to start to defend, New Zealand are very good at stretching that and playing your late switches, playing your flick balls, your off the cuff stuff. So it's going to be a really interesting Australia versus New Zealand if that even occurs.
Yeah, definitely noticed it a lot. Like that, not strict hard corner shapes, just something like a soft corner, let's say, 2 steps, and just see what happens.
Well, we actually say keep your shape the same, but take your first steps completely direct. There's some teams out there that if it's a dummy half running, they will force you to go to the short side, and they'll just run you down. They'll just say, we want you to take on the short side, and I'm just going to touch you on the back as soon as you get into the in goal. Some teams do that. Some teams will get their link up to make the touch. Some teams will do what's called a muddle, which I've got one of the videos I just recorded before this this interview was based on a muddle, which is where your middle and your link switch spots. It's going to be interesting. I haven't actually been involved with any or seen any Australian training camps. I know that our men's, my region just won our nationals, and our men's open tried a new line defense where it was almost like a very old school shutdown, but a sprint shutdown to cut away time, because there was some Queensland players that had a really long pass, but they were used to having 4 steps with the ball before winding up and picking their option, whereas our region, we cut that time in half and put them under a panic pass. And that was their strategy, and they did end up winning. Whether or not it was because of the line defense, we don't know, but it definitely didn't hurt. So I think there will be some differences, but I think the biggest one will be how much Australia in particular will man on when running from dummy half.
Interesting. I also had another final question, Tom, was around, question and request. Here talking to the Sweden team, was listening to it before this, but your offer on satellite coaching would, I think that's really like a big area of weakness for us in the community. It's basically like a lot of our coaches are also our leading players. So you've got this really sort of shortage of knowledge and expertise, and you're trying to fulfill 2 roles. We do have non-playing coaches, which is great, but they're just very limited supply. So we'd absolutely love the opportunity to receive some satellite coaching. So anyone.
Awesome.
And I think the second thing is just huge thanks for the channel. That's been a real source of a resource for me, and the team. I'll have a little library of all the links explaining whatever it is that I've been trying to explain, and then you go and explain it better. So it's really, really helpful.
I've just wrote you down there, and it'll be sort of stuff like this, so just Zoom chat, but you can share videos and things on that. But even just people at the club that I'm from are totally keen to get involved with the international sort of spectrum. I'll definitely took that up. I'm trying to test myself out. I filmed the latch, which is a very common phrase in touch football these days. I've got a video that's coming out, and I'm going to explain the latch in 60 seconds with the lines and everything. So I'm rushing through it. And then after that, I've recorded one, which is a double latch or a dummy latch in 120 seconds. So it's a bit frantic. I think I did it okay. So we'll see how that goes. That'll come out probably maybe next or something like that. And another one, which is like do you use New Zealand terminology as far as the number system goes, like 33, 32? So it's a 33 scoop versus a 32 scoop. Like what's the difference? So all this will come out before the World Cup. So
amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
No, that's and we know that we have a lot of people actually also, tapping into your videos. We had one of our players get in touch, and yeah, we love watching them, and thanks for all the work that you do.
No, thanks for watching. It's amazing too. Like the first comments I got on my first analysis video, they were all international. Like they were all like, I was like, oh wow, the videos. It actually spread internationally quite quickly. The first video I did, which was our Doyleson versus Parramatta grand final.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any favorite players that you like watching online? I do ask this to everyone.
Vaughan?
I mean, the classics, I think Drummy and Hennessy are pretty crazy. And still wishing I could dive. And the pinnacle would be Drummy for me. But there's also a couple of players from New Zealand, Shadow Favel and Lance. But yeah, those would be the two big ones, Drummy and Hennessy.
Yeah, for me too. I mean, I'm definitely a big fan of Dylan Hennessy's game, especially him being in link. We have in our community, there's always a big thing. You got to be middle in order to make something happen, and no, you absolutely don't. Here's a great example, right? So that's definitely what I love, and just seeing his ability, skill, vision in the game is something that's very inspiring to me personally. So definitely trying to hope to see a couple of good ones there, and then in a couple of days.
Yeah, definitely. And Drummy's just broken a record. Well, he didn't break a record, but in men's open, so he still plays men's open at our national tournament, which is probably our biggest tournament in the country. And he's just reached 150 tries in men's open.
Wow.
So that's just it's been a 4-day tournament once a year. And he's got to 150 tries as a middle. He plays middle. I think he plays, maybe he plays a bit of link now, but predominantly his career has been a middle. So as far as longevity goes and consistency, I think Drummy has probably got it over Dylan there, and Drummy's probably got a better dive. But Dylan's he's just electric, and he always has been.
I think funny, so.
Like when he first came in, it was interesting. They would put Dylan Hennessy on only for line attack. And then when they turned the ball over to keep him fresh, he'd sub off. Not because he was lazy or anything. They just wanted to use him specifically for line attack. And he never won any state champs. He got to grand finals, but he never actually won. And he won when he was in his 30s, in 2019, I think, or something like that. But by then he was doing everything that everyone else was. So I reckon he's better now than he was 10 years ago, because he's doing the defense, he's doing the rucking, he's doing the midfield pressure, he's doing everything really well, and it's really good, because now we can, with any kids that say, I really love Hennessy, you can be like, yeah, that's good. Like, have you seen the way he defends and stuff like that? Whereas before it was, I want to be Hennessy, I just want to attack.
Yeah, give me the ball and let me throw it. No, I think also a shout out to female players. I think Danny Davis, or now Norman. She's always crazy to watch. Also previous highlights, and also I think it's Tomagato. Is it Emma Tomagato?
Emma Tomagato, yep. And she's an absolutely brilliant rugby league player too.
Yeah. Just listening to the commentary.
And Emma's actually a really good advocate for the game, like a good ambassador for touch football. Like she'll always find the time to talk about what's great about the sport, whether she's at a tournament or doing something with rugby league. So it's really good. Tamika Upton's really another one that talks a lot about how good touch football is. So that's good, and it's a good relationship that we've got with the NRL in Australia.
Amazing.
All right, guys. What time is it over there for you guys?
3:20 in the afternoon.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Did you guys finish work early to jump on this podcast?
So for me, it's public holiday. For you too, Vaughan, is it?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually on holiday at the moment, so don't have my Touch Deutschland top on, but yeah, I'm on holiday anyway, so yeah, enjoying some sun. Cool.
What's the holiday?
You know what? I've been trying to find that out myself. I couldn't tell you, but I know that it's off, and that's good for me. So to do this podcast today. So.
Excuse me while I Google it.
Yeah, they also don't Mondayize holidays in Germany if it falls on a weekend, so you get few and far between actually having a holiday.
I think it's Corpus Christi, actually, is what it is.
Okay. Yeah, not a holiday here. I got work tomorrow.
Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity for letting us come on. I mean, obviously being one of the smaller nations, but yeah, it was important for us to share and say thank you for the stuff that you do, and just get a little bit feel and be part of the community. As we said, we thrive off having those international connections. Naturally, it's more to teams around us, but it's definitely something that we want to do. Invite more if people are here coming to the country. Get in touch, have a crack, play with some of our teams. If people are moving to the country new, they need any contacts. We're definitely there and try to accommodate anybody and try to get as much from everybody coming in that has been exposed to the game. Just to make sure that we have that sustainable growth and start.
Well, it's good. It's good because like a lot of my friends in the off season, they go on holidays and things like that overseas, and if I have a friend that's going on a holiday to Germany, or if it's got family in Germany that they're going to visit, I'll make sure that they come and connect with the touch football over there.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, with Saturdays in Berlin. We're always playing, so anyone's welcome.
So different. We never play touch on Saturdays unless they're a big tournament at home. It's always like trainings on Sunday, but all of our weekly stuff, all of our most common touch is all on weekdays, like after work. Because I think it's our work life. Like pretty much every retail shop is shut at 5:00 in Australia. Like there's nothing open, so everyone just either goes home and watches TV or goes and plays sport.
Yeah, no, we have our trainings midweek, but then socials very much a Saturday, enjoy, chill, and then go have a beer or some food afterwards. So yeah, anyone coming through Berlin, always welcome. Find us on Facebook, Touch Berlin.
Yeah, I'll have the links for the Facebook and the Instagram on the description as well. So really appreciate it, guys. I'll come watch you. I'll hopefully get around and watch a game at the World Cup, and I'll come say hi.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll have to trade a shirt.
Yeah, I'll hopefully have more of these, but I'll bring heaps of stuff. The stuff that I've got at home that either doesn't fit me anymore or I don't need.
Yeah, okay, guys.
Tom. There you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.